So, lads, there is a WNBA team that have been very, very, very much in, like, they made it clear that they want Caitlin Clark, or they're eventually going to want Caitlin Clark. Along those lines, they made it very, very clear.
With her starlet Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White believed she had it all figured out. However, karma has a weird way of having coaches take back what they said. Clark is coping with another injury to his groin. Those intimate meetings at the New York Liberty suddenly seem less innocent. People, the writing is on the wall.
In the bowels of the Barclays Center with Liberty coach Sandy Brondello and Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. I'm just having a little...
Alongside Liberty coach Sandy Brondello, Breanna Stewart, and Sabrina Ionescu, Clark is in the Barclays Center's interior. I'm simply enjoying myself a little. After witnessing Stephanie White's handling of her injury condition, do you believe Caitlin Clark is already mentally leaving Indiana? Here, let's be brutally honest. Caitlin Clark's treatment by Stephanie White has been as seamless as sandpaper on silk. Due to groin issues,
yeah, I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain ways.
From day one, the pattern has been obvious. There are indications that Clark and White don't quite agree on Clark's contribution to the offense. Even though Clark has made it clear that she performs best when she has the ball in her hands, particularly during transition, White continues to try to take the ball away from her.
Did she have imaging today? Was it just see how she's feeling? I know you have a game tonight first, but is there any discussion yet about this weekend with her? Because obviously she's a huge part of All-Star.
No discussion yet about this weekend. There was imaging done. Obviously ruling her out for tonight, but there hasn't been any discussion beyond tonight.
The most significant development was that Clark sustained a right groin injury in the last minute of Tuesday's 85-77 victory against the Connecticut Sun, which forced him to miss Wednesday night's game against the New York Liberty in Brooklyn. White's reaction to her sobbing on the bench was essentially a shrug. Following Tuesday's game, White informed reporters that Clark had a slight groin ache. Something small? You call it a little something when your best player is sobbing on the bench. The disparity is simply astounding. This is when things start to get interesting. Around Clark, the New York Liberty had been circling like sharks. And really, who is to blame? The CEO of the New York Liberty, Ka Clark, admits that Clark came in and kindled a fire and had an indisputable influence on the company's recent success. They recognize the worth that White doesn't seem to completely recognize.
We have just seen the New York Liberty players after the game meeting up with Caitlin Clark. It is Stewie, it is Sabrina Ionescu, there is Sandy Brondello. And by the way, Stewie is not leaving New York the rest of her career. That is one thing that I will be 99% sure of. That Stewie is not leaving. New York. Sabrina is not going to leave New York. I think there is a 50-50 chance Caitlin Clark leaves Indiana after her rookie season.
Nor is the Liberty connection merely conjecture. In the All-Star draft, Clark selected Sabrina Ionescu, a guard for the New York Liberty, with the 3rd overall pick. It's more than just a basketball choice. In doing so, Clark is demonstrating his appreciation for a player who has experienced the same pressures and demands that she has. It's clear that Clark and the Liberty players respect one another, something she obviously lacks with her present coaching staff. At best, White's strategy regarding Clark's playing time has been dubious. White stated that she prefers having 2 primary ball handlers on the court and that she doesn't want Clark to play 94 feet under duress the whole time she's on the floor. We are referring to your franchise player here, the one who, by herself, raised the WNBA's profile, and you're concerned that she might play too much? The conflict between coaching philosophies is getting more noticeable every day. I think we need to do a better job of getting me the ball in transition, Clark said bluntly. I believe there is a delicate balance between getting the ball in my hands and playing me off the ball whether or not someone is around. I'm at my finest throughout transition at that point. It isn't a request. Clark is letting her coach know exactly what she needs to do to be successful.
You can see, and this is one of the more important things. You see this right here? You see this right here? This is Caitlin's agent. This is Caitlin Clark's agent.
When you take into account the coaching staff, the Liberty connection becomes even more intriguing. Sandy Bernardello, the head coach of the New York Liberty, was scheduled to coach Clark's squad in the All-Star game. That isn't merely a coincidence, and it gives Clark a preview of what top-tier coaching looks like. This is what irritates me the most. White's remarks regarding the timing for Clark's return. White revealed that even after going through recovery phases, Clark hasn't fully recovered in a practice or real defensive group. Clark has already had to battle with a number of ailments this season. By now, a capable coaching staff would have found out how to handle the workload of their top players. The attacking philosophy is the clearest indication of White's disconnection from Clark. According to White, her main worry is how we will continue to move the ball and get it moving when we reintegrate her, not just side to side, but baseline to baseline. Restoring your finest player to full capacity and allowing her to rule should be your top priority, not figuring out how to integrate her into your system. In contrast, the Liberty are aware of star power. Their system is based on making the most of the talents of Breanna Stewart and Sarana Ionescu. They don't make an effort to shoehorn their stars into a certain mold. To get the most out of their players, they adjust. Throughout the season, Clark's annoyance has been apparent. Following her most recent groin ailment, as she approached the Fever bench and covered her head with a towel, Clark was clearly upset. It's more than just bodily discomfort. That's how a player feels when she observes her career being handled poorly. There is a noticeable difference between Clark's performance when she is healthy and when she is battling injuries. As the Fever scored a franchise-high 64 points in the first half, Clark finished with 14 points and 13 assists when healthy. However, she finds it difficult to get into a routine when she's juggling persistent ailments and dubious coaching choices. White's response to Clark's all-star predicament sums up the issue quite well. White responded, "Caitlin and her team will make decisions when it comes to All-Star," in response to a question concerning Clark's involvement in All-Star events. For me, having All-Star in Indianapolis is a huge deal. Naturally, with Caitlin at the center of all of that, she is essentially shifting blame rather than accepting accountability for her players' well-being. The Liberty and the Fevers have very different approaches to player development and veteran leadership. They have a track record of winning titles and making the most of talent. The Fever. They're still attempting to determine how to employ the league's most gifted athlete. White's obvious inability to read the environment is what exacerbates this issue. One does not make claims regarding ball movement and system integration when a player of Clark's caliber is battling injuries. You concentrate on improving her health and leveraging her advantages. White has a basic comprehension of what she has, as evidenced by her constant discourse about fitting Clark into her system rather than changing it to play to Clark's strengths. The injuries also cause mental impairments in addition to physical ones. Clark entered the league with unwavering confidence. The elephant in the room needs to be addressed. The alleged exchanges between Liberty players, Clark, and her agent. It's not merely pleasant networking when agents begin speaking with other organizations. That's business. When their client is having persistent problems with their current team, Clark's agent would not waste time on pointless discussions. These discussions' timing is especially instructive. These are taking place while Clark struggles with injuries and disagreements over coaching philosophies. And it's no accident. Since Clark's camp is dissatisfied with the state of affairs in Indiana, they are investigating their alternatives. White has continuously made tone-deaf remarks in public regarding Clark's injuries. A comment like calling a groin injury that leaves your star player crying a little something causes players to wonder if their coach actually knows or cares about their welfare. It's the type of statement that prompts agents to begin phoning other businesses. There is a clear difference between the Fevers and Liberty's organizational structures. The Liberty are aware that the foundation of championship teams is maximizing the abilities of their best players. They don't attempt to fit Sabrina Ionescu or Breanna Stewart into a preconceived framework. They create structures that give such players the upper hand. Under White, the Fever have taken the opposite tack. They have attempted to incorporate Clark into their pre-existing framework rather than enhancing her special abilities. That kind of backward thinking shows a basic ignorance of the process of creating an organization of the caliber of a championship. The fact that Clark's agent is present when speaking with Liberty players is more than simply a coincidence. It's a calculated move. You begin looking into other choices when you're working with a coach who doesn't appear to recognize your client's worth and is unable to maintain their health. It seems like that's exactly what's going on here. The fact that this whole thing was entirely avoidable is what irritates me the most. From the beginning, White and Clark had the chance to create something unique. Rather, she has made it so that her best player is hurt all the time, dissatisfied with the coaching style, and possibly searching for a new opportunity elsewhere. Successful coach-superstar partnerships throughout sports history are based on respect and understanding for one another. While the star embraces the team concept as a whole, the coach modifies their approach to optimize the player's strengths. In Indiana, we are witnessing a coach who expects her star to fit into her system without making any changes herself. Anyone who has been paying attention can see the writing on the wall. A perfect storm has been generated by White's tone-deaf comments, dubious coaching choices, and Clark's anger with the injury situation. The Liberty have the organizational capacity and are in a position to capitalize on this circumstance. Before it's too late, the Fever had better wake up. There are limitations to Clark's patience, and the Liberty are providing everything that Indiana isn't. Proper star treatment, a culture of championship, and competent coaching. Wearing a New York Liberty jersey is Stephanie, White's karma coming.